So I'm using the 90mm lens on the X1D. Now the 90mm is a good choice for portraiture, and that is the task that Hasselblad have set me, is to see what I think of this camera and test it on several portrait shots. I've started today deliberately early. The sun is quite high in the sky. I wouldn't actually attempt portrait shots in this light ordinarily, but I really wanted to test the latitude of this camera shooting with highlights and into the shadows. So I've got the sun up high there behind Evie, so I'm backlighting Evie's lovely blonde hair, and I'm going to shoot over the top of these flowers into the shadow side of Evie so I can really see what this camera can offer. I'm also going to take advantage of these 35 autofocus point zones, shooting at shallow depth of field at f3.2, so I can throw out all these flowers out of focus, but it's such a shallow depth of field, it'll be interesting to see how well the autofocus holds up on this. Focus has just picked out Evie pin sharp then, looks like that's worked a treat. Just turn towards me slightly, darling, that's it, great. And you can see that lovely shallow depth of field in the viewfinder, excellent. Focusing on Evie, I'm going a little bit lower to get those flowers out of focus. A lovely soft look, Evie's blonde hair with the highlight from the sun, isolated against the dark background of the trees behind her. Going to go a little bit closer in to frame this up a little bit more tightly. I mean, this is a 50 megapixel camera, so I mean, I could shoot a little bit more loosely and then crop the shot later as well if I wanted to. I'm going to ask Emma now to bring in a white reflector. I'm just going to try and bounce a little bit of sunlight back into that shadow side to give a more pleasing effect. Good, lovely. Little bit of a smile on this one, that's great. And again, darling, good. Okay. That's lovely there, the way that's highlighting around you, good. Slightly towards me, maybe towards that white reflector if you can bear looking at the brightness of it, that's it, good. And then just your eyes towards me. Beautiful. So I'm able to see the exposure, whether it's correct, because the exposure in the viewfinder changes brighter or darker from what I'm seeing through the viewfinder. So that is quite a nice touch, a nice difference to working with a mirror camera. In the studio I'm working with the H cameras, which is a prism and a mirror. Obviously there's no way you can have the exposure change unless you've got the stop down button, but you're not really seeing a real exposure. Here I'm seeing a simulated exposure through the electronic viewfinder. So that should have put the camera to a pretty good test for latitude, focus, and seeing how good the focus is at that shallow depth of field.